All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call halayim. Yahweh Bahashim. Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so today in this lesson, I want to go into this book called Seeds of Destruction, the hidden agenda of genetic manipulation. All right, and Esau, Edom being the devil that the Bible speaks of. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, starting with the elite bankers. All right, this book goes into how they genetically modify, and poison the food industry, man. They splice genes and genetically modify DNA of foods, man. All right, because Esau, Edom, starting with the elite bankers, they have an agenda to bring forth the New World Order, and part of that agenda, that New World Order agenda, is to depopulate the masses, all right? And poisoning the food supply, turning it into nothing but chemicals, poison, and drugs is part of that depopulation process. All right? These are the type of things that Esau, Edom does. All right? If you can't see that this man is the devil, then I don't know. All right? Because how do you know how wicked and vile and profane you got to be? All right? To take something in its natural state and then with your science and your witchcraft, you have to genetically modify its DNA and genes, and bro, that's what? All right, let me show you the back cover of this book real quick. Read the back cover for you. All right, so it says right here, it says, this skillfully researched book focuses on how a small socio-political American elite seeks to establish its control over the very basis of human survival, the provision of our daily bread. All right, control the food and you control the people. All right, so they flood the food supply with nothing but GMOs, chemicals, and poison, man. All right, this is no ordinary book about the perils of GMO. Engdahl takes the reader inside the corridors of power, into the back rooms of the science labs, behind closed doors in the corporate boardrooms. All right, the author reveals a world of profit-driven political intrigue, government corruption, and coercion, where genetic manipulation and the patenting of life forms, all right, are used to gain worldwide control over food production. All right, and genetically modifying the foods and pouring insecticides and herbicides and pesticides upon the foods and the crops and all that zombifies the people, man. All right, so you don't know what's going on, man. All right, so let's go into chapter 5. Chapter 5. All right, it's titled The Brotherhood of Death. All right, and the subheading right here it says what? Human guinea pigs. All right, see, Esau, Edom, starting with the elites. All right, they used you Puerto Ricans as guinea pigs, man. All right, this chapter goes into it. All right, let's zoom in, man. All right, you Puerto Ricans are Israelites from the tribe of Ephraim. All right, you Puerto Ricans are Israelites too, man. All right, from the tribe of Ephraim. That's why the same curses fall upon you as all the other Israelite tribes. All right, all of Israel goes through the same curses. All right, that's why Esau, Edom hates your ass too, man. All right. So this is I don't know what the hell happened there. You see how it just zoomed out? All right. So let's get into it. This is chapter 5, Brotherhood of Death. All right, human guinea pigs. All right, it says, years before Henry Kissinger and Brent Scowcroft made population reduction the official foreign policy of the United States government, the Rockefeller brothers, in particular John D. Rockefeller III, or JDR III, as he was affectionately known, were busy experimenting on human guinea pigs. All right? In the 1950s, brother Nelson Rockefeller had invested in exploiting the cheap, non-unionized labor of Puerto Ricans in the New York Garment Center sweatshops, flying them into New York at cheap rates on the Family Eastern Airlines shuttle. All right? It says he was also engaged in setting up cheap labor manufacturing directly on the island, far away from prying U.S. health and industrial safety regulators. All right, you see how these devils work? These devils move. All right, under a government program named Operation Bootstrap. Operation Bootstrap was launched in 1947 to offer U.S. firms the benefit of a cheap labor force as well as generous tax holidays. All right. At the time, Nelson Rockefeller was Undersecretary of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and a shadowy and highly influential figure in the Eisenhower administration. All right. Next page. All right. Zoom in again. All right. It says the Nelsons. It says in Nelson's version of Operation Bootstrap, the boots were owned by the Rockefeller family and their business friends around David Rockefeller's Chase Bank. Chase's most profitable business during the 1950s was via Puerto Rico in Operation Bootstrap, financing runaway sweatshops, fleeing higher wages in the U.S. All right. The family-controlled company, International Basic Economic Corporation, built up vast assets on the island. The only straps were those used by sweatshop owners on the island to force a higher level of productivity from their workers. All right. While Nelson was busy encouraging the spirit of free enterprise among Puerto Ricans, brother John D. III was running human experiments in mass sterilizations on the poor citizens of Puerto Rico. All right. Esau Edom likes to use you Puerto Ricans as guinea pigs, man. All right. Human experiments. All right. It says Puerto Rico was an unfortunate island whose sovereignty got lost somewhere in the shuffle of American diplomacy. It was a de facto U.S. colony with ultimate legal control decided in Washington, making it an ideal experiment station. All right, these damn devils, man. All right, but you coon ass Puerto Ricans, man, love this damn devil. Love Esau Edom, the so-called white man, your enemy, the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right, it says through his newly founded population council, JDR III first ran some of the experiments in population reduction, which would later become global State Department policy under Henry Kissinger's NSSM 200. All right, JDR III made Puerto Rico into a huge laboratory to test his ideas on mass population control beginning in the 1950s. By 1965, an estimated 35% of Puerto Rico's women of childbearing age had been permanently sterilized. Permanently sterilized, because they trying to wipe us out. All right? But you know, Yahweh, with his unlimited power, all right, kept us in business, man. All right? You know, if it wasn't for the Most High's promise unto Abraham, we would have been like unto Sodom, and we would have been like unto Gomorrah, man. All right? That's why we're still here today, man. because the Lord made a promise to Abraham, man. All right, to give him and his seed, all right, a land flowing with milk and honey, which that's the kingdom of heaven, man. You know, the Holy Land. You know, ruling in the Holy Land when Yahweh Shai comes back. You know, we still as the sand of the sea, man. You know, all right. By 1965, an estimated 35%. By 1965, an estimated 35% of Puerto Rico's women of childbearing age, all right, had been permanently sterilized. Sterilized meaning you can't have children. And permanently, man. This damn devil, man, all right? According to a study made that year by the island's public health department, the Rockefellers Population Council, and the U.S. government Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, where Brother Nelson was undersecretary, packaged the sterilization campaign. They used the spurious argument that it would protect women's health and stabilize incomes if there were fewer mouths to feed. You see how these damn devils work? All right, it says poor Puerto Rican women were encouraged to give birth in sanitary new U.S. built hospitals where doctors were under orders to sterilize mothers who had been given birth to two children by tying their tubes. All right, but you know, through Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai's mercy, all right, we still multiplying out here, man. All right, Puerto Ricans come from are Israelites from the tribe of Ephraim, man. The word Ephraim coming from the Hebrew word aparion, which means fruitful, man. Fruitful meaning abundant. That's why there's too many of us out here. You still can't stop us, man. You know? That's why there's so many Puerto Rican with big ass families. You know? That's the Most High's power and mercy. Esau, Edom trying to depopulate us, man, but we still out here. And we prophesying too. All right? Poor Puerto Rican women were encouraged to give birth in sanitary new U.S. built hospitals where doctors were under orders to sterilize mothers who had given birth to two children by tying their tubes, usually without the mother's consent. All right. By 1965, Puerto Rico was a world leader in at least one category. All right. It had the highest percentage of sterilized women in the world. All right. India lagged badly in comparison with a mere 3%. It made a difference when the Rockefeller family could control the process directly without government meddling. All right. It says second only to control of atomic weapons. All right. John D. the third forced sterilization program was no radical departure for the family. The Rockefellers had long regarded Puerto Rico as a convenient human laboratory. In 1931, the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, later renamed the Rockefeller University, financed the cancer experiments of Dr. Cornelius Rhodes in Puerto Rico. Let me read that again. It says John D. the third forced sterilization program was no radical departure for the family. The Rockefellers had long regarded Puerto Rico as a convenient human laboratory. In 1931, the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, later renamed the Rockefeller University, financed the cancer experiments of Dr. Cornelius Rhodes in Puerto Rico. Rhodes was no ordinary scientist. It later came out that Rose had deliberately infected his subjects with cancer cells, all right, you Puerto Ricans, all right, to see what would happen. Eight of his subjects died, according to pathologist Cornelius Rose. All right, and this is what he said: Puerto Ricans are beyond doubt the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate, and thievish race of men ever inhabiting this sphere. And that's coming from the mouth of Esau, right? Right? You Edomites got some damn nerve to call us the dirtiest, right? When literally the Bible calls you, the Bible says you're more viler than the earth. And that out of all the nations of the earth, you Edomites are the lowest. Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's get the book of Obadiah. You Edomites, all right, which is you so-called white people, all right, which is the devil that the Bible speaks of, all right, out of all the races on the earth, you are the lowest and you are the most vile, all right, and the most profane, right? Let's get that. All right, that's in the book of Hebrews. All right, Hebrews 12. All right, let's get that first. All right, Hebrews 12 and 16. All right, let's get it. Hebrews 12 and 16, it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau. All right, for one morsel of meat he sold his birthright. Yeah, there's nobody more profane as Esau, man. All right, you sold your birthright for some damn pottage, man, for some food. All right, let's go to Obadiah, the first chapter. All right, Obadiah 1 and 1. All right, it says the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. All right, so this vision that Obadiah had, all right, concerns Edom, the nation of Edom, you Edomites, which is you so-called white people. All right, we have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised, ye out of all the heathen nations. All right, you are the smallest, Esau, you Edomites. All right, and then for y'all to have the to have something like this to come out your mouth talking about you're the dirtiest, you're the most vile. All right, matter of fact, let's get that. Viler than the earth. Let's get that real quick. All right, yeah, this is talking, this chapter right here is talking about Esau. All right, so it says right here, I'll start at verse Job 30 and 5. It says they were driven forth from among men. Yeah, because during the time of the dark ages, all right, who was ruling? Who were the kings and knights during the time of the medieval ages and the dark ages? All right, you so-called Negroes, you Israelites, during this time we were known as the Moors, right? And you Edomites, you were driven forth from among men. You were driven forth from civilization. We pushed you out from civilization and pushed you into the Caucasus Mountains. And there you dwelt. All right? And when y'all came into power, in the Renaissance era, back into power during the Renaissance era, y'all called yourselves Caucasians. Because that's where y'all came from. All right? Before the Renaissance era. Caucasian meaning cave dweller, because that's where y'all dwelt at. Y'all was pushed into the caves of the Caucasus Mountains. Y'all was pushed from amongst men, like it says right here, from amongst civilization, right? They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, see? And in the caves of the earth and in the rocks. That's where y'all dwell at, all right? Among the bushes, yeah. you dwell in the caves and the rocks, all right? In the bushes, right? Among the bushes they brayed. Under the nettles they were gathered together, all right? They were children of fools. And that's what you Edomites are. You're children of fools, man. Who's doing something stupid as hell. All right, that's why when we see so-called white people, all right, we be doing something stupid, we be like, oh, that's that white people shit, right? It says they were children of fools, yea, children of base men. You Edomites are nothing but base men, lower than the lowest. All right, we just read in Obadiah. All right, you were lowest among the heathen. The Lord said, I have made you small among the heathen. All right, they were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. All right, you Edomites, you so-called white people, are the most vile people on this earth. So for you to say something like this, let's read it. All right, Puerto Ricans are the most. Even the Bible tells you you're viler than the earth, man. This is what the scriptures are saying. All right? Excuse me. It says Puerto Ricans are, this is coming out of Esau's mouth, right? Or who? Cornelius Rhodes, right? Puerto Ricans are beyond doubt the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate, and thievish race of men. All right? That literally describes Esau, dirtiest, laziest, all right, thievish, right? Everything you have gained on this earth was by robbery. All right? It says Puerto Ricans are beyond a doubt. This is what Esau thinks about y'all, man. You Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans, this is him saying this, quote unquote. Puerto Ricans are beyond doubt the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate and thievish race of men ever inhabiting this sphere. No, that's you, Esau. All right, and that's why you're going to get that's why after 1,000 years of slavery, all right, we're going to burn you. All right, and there's never going to be an Edomite on this earth ever again. All right, the scriptures say, destroy them that destroy the earth. And who is that? That's you, Esau. All right, says Puerto Ricans are beyond doubt the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate and thievish race of men ever inhabiting this sphere. What the island needs is not public health work, but a tidal wave or something to totally exterminate the population. That's what Esau thinks about you, Puerto Ricans. All right, but what's funny is that according to prophecy, every single one of you Edomites are never going to exist ever again. Because when Yahweh Shai comes back, you Edomites have to go into slavery for 1,000 years because you put us into slavery. So you have to go into slavery for 1,000 years. Then after those 1,000 years, you Edomites, every single Edomite is going to be gathered together and they're going to be burnt up, and there's never going to be an Edomite ever again on this earth. There's never going to be an Edomite ever to exist again on this earth, and that's according to the book of Obadiah. So you over here talking about there needs to be a tidal wave or something to totally exterminate the population. Well, there's going to come a time where you're going to be fully exterminated. Job the 20th chapter as well. All right. I have done my best to further the process of exterminating by killing off 8. Initially written in a confidential letter to a fellow. This is what Cornelius Rhodes said right here. Boom. All right, I'll read it again. Puerto Ricans, or I have it right highlighted right here. Puerto Ricans are beyond doubt the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate and thievish race of men to ever inhabiting this sphere. All right, what the island, all right, the island of Puerto Rico, what the island needs is not public health work, but a tidal wave or something to totally exterminate the population. I have done my best to further the process of extermination by killing off 8. Initially, written in a confidential letter to a fellow researcher, Rhodes' boast of killing Puerto Ricans appeared in Time magazine in February 1932 after Pedro Albizu Campos, leader of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party, gained possession of the letter and publicized its contents. All right. It says, rather than being tried for murder, the Rockefeller Institute scientist was asked to establish the U.S. Army biological warfare facilities in Maryland, Utah, and also Panama, and was later named to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, where radiation experiments were secretly conducted on prisoners, hospital patients, and U.S. soldiers. All right. In 1961, more than a decade before his policies were to become enshrined in NSSM 200, JDR III gave the second McDougall lecture to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Excuse me, let me slow down real quick. All right, it says, Rockefeller told listeners, to my mind, population growth is second only to control of atomic weapons as the paramount problem of the day. He spoke of a cold inevitability, a certainty that is mathematical, that gives the problems posed by too rapid population growth a somber and chilling case indeed. All right, the grim fact, all right, of population growth, he warned, cuts across all the basic needs of humankind and frustrates man's achievement of his higher needs. All right, Rockefeller supports eugenics. All right, and that's why they got Bill Gates out here. He's known as a eugenicist, right? It says JDR the third grew up surrounded by eugenicists, all right, race theorists, and Malthusians, all right, at the Rockefeller Foundation, all right, such as Frederick Osborne, Henry Fairchild, and Alan Gregg. For John D. III, it seemed only natural that he and others of his class should decide which elements of the human species survived in order that they could have life as we want it to be. All right, they saw it as being a bit like calling herds of sheep for the best of breeds. All right, it says the logic of human life for family was simple. All right, supply and demand, as James Taylor expressed it. For Rockefeller, the proper care of sheep, all right, requires, that's how they look at it, sheep cattle, all right, requires nothing more than an equalization of supply with demand. If supply, i.e. food, water, and space, cannot meet demand, supply must be increased and demand must be decreased, all right? The Rockefeller Foundation has used this two-pronged approach to great effect, all right? The supply shortage has been addressed by advanced medical practices and increased crop yields, all right? The demand problem has been solved by calling, all right, meaning killing, all right, the herd via birth control and abortion. Come on, bruh. That's why birth control is legal and abortion is legal. Right? Goodness, man. All right, and that's why you got Planned Parenthood, you know. All right, it says for most Americans and for most of the world, the idea that the leading policy circles of the United States government acting on the behest of some of the wealthiest families, yeah, because the government is bought and paid for by the elites. All right, everything is under the elites, man. Because what people don't understand, people like to complain about the government this, the government that. Well, the government is controlled by the elites. It's not the government, it's the elites that's controlling the government, right? It all goes back to the elites. Right? It says acting on the behest of some of its wealthiest families and most influential universities, all right, would deliberately promote the mass covert sterilization of entire population groups was too far-fetched to accept. Nah, man, that's their agenda. All right, few realized that individuals with names such as Rockefeller, Harriman, banker J.P. Morgan Jr., Mary Duke Biddle of the tobacco family, Cleveland Dodge, John Harvey Kellogg, all right, from the breakfast cereal fortune, Clarence Gamble of Procter and Gamble were quietly funding eugenics, all right, eugenics, my bad, eugenics as members of the American Eugenics Society. They had also been financing experiments in forced sterilization of inferior people. Well, Esau Edom is the most inferior race on this earth. You so-called white people, all right? And various forms of population control as early as World War I. Their counterparts in the English Eugenics Society at the time included the British Chancellor of the Exchequer, Winston Churchill, all right, economist John Maynard Keynes, Arthur Lord Balfour, and Julian Huxley, who went on to be the first head of the UNESCO after the war. All right, so I'll leave it at that, and I'm gonna do a part 2. All right, I'm gonna just, before my my battery dies, I'm gonna charge it, and I'm gonna do a part 2. I'll lead off from right here. All right, so you see what's going on. You see how this damn devil is the devil. Yeah, see, I just got that warning. All right, so you see, yeah, man. You see how wicked and vile Esau Edom is, man. All right, come on, bro. You elect gotta wake up, man. That's still out there that has to come back into this fold, man, and realize how much of a devil this devil is. The Bible literally lets us know that Esau Edom is the devil, man. That he's our number one enemy, man, to you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of. All right? All right, so Lord willing, this lesson is edifying or was edifying. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Ratazad, this lesson is edifying. All right? Call Halayim Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. All right, on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.